I'll tell you a quick story, and that's the story of the tree, because I think the tree really epitomizes my life better than any other piece of art I have in here. And the front side of the story is that the tree was designed by me and built by my company to be the centerpiece for a large corporate event. The backside of the story is that one day I received a call from a friend of mine who said that he was going out of business, he was retiring, and he said the magic words. He said, "Do you want the stripper poles?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I had no interest in opening a museum. If you'd have asked me 5 years ago, "Do you want to open a museum?" I would tell you, "You're out of your mind." No, I wanted to find a place for all of my art. And then I bought this building. Every person who walks into this room has the exact same reaction. They all just stand here and smile for a minute. It's just stunning. This is an unusual place because it's both historically and architecturally important. Historically, it's important because this is the oldest existing Andrew Carnegie Library in Cleveland. It was built in 1904. And it's architecturally important because it's one of the only 10-sided buildings in the United States. I took on the challenge. It was an amazing challenge, I'll say that. So, when I walked into this building, I can tell you that, first of all, it smelled horrible. It had 10 years of pretty derelict water damage. The roof had failed. We took 153 cubic yards of trash out of the downstairs alone. I talk a lot about the love affair that I have with this building. The building and I share a really interesting path. We both had great lives. We both were glamorous and important in our day. Both of us hit a snag. It stopped being a library and I stopped working. And then we discovered each other. And this building has completely reinvented me, and I have completely reinvented this building. And the love affair doesn't change, it just gets better. This collection represents 60 years of my life. There's a great big sign when you first walk in, and it says, if you wanted to put on display what your life collected, what would that look like? Because all of us collect things in our lives. This collection, and as you walk through and I tell stories, it's not in any sort of chronological order at all, but it is the story of my life. It is the story of success, it's the story of failure, it's the story of tragedy, but mostly it's the story of just sheer excitement and curiosity in a life really well lived, almost accidentally. The dining set here, it's probably 120, 150 years old, all hand carved, extraordinarily heavy. One of the big chairs weighs about 85 pounds, or somewhere around 42 kilos. I had a woman from Europe here, and she was very impressed that I could do the math. You know, I've traveled extensively. I've been on every continent except Antarctica. I've met the most amazing people. I've met presidents, I've met famous people. I find every person I meet interesting, seriously, and they are. Like these lions are carved out of styrofoam because I met a guy who carved styrofoam, and he's just, he was trying to teach me, and I was terrible at it, no doubt about it. But he said to me, well, someday you're going to want a set of big lions for the front of your house or somewhere. So he made those for me, and I've had them ever since. This is a really interesting piece. This is on loan to me. In Akron, Ohio, there's a man by the name of Don Drum. Works in aluminum a lot. Many, many, many people collect Don Drum. This was his Cleveland Institute of Art master's thesis piece that he did in 1954. It's signed, he's seen it, he knows all about it. And it was owned by someone who also did work at Cleveland Institute of Art, and he just ended up with it. The 1969 I was a tribute to the Stonewall riots of 1969. I was there in 1969 studying classical ballet in New York City when it happened. 25 years later, I was in New York as part of the celebration of 25 years of the Stonewall. And then 25 years after that, I went to the 50th celebration. So I thought, how old am I? Anyway, you are as old as you are. Everything in this section was done by the same artist. This gentleman right here, his name is Rick Lehman. When Rick Lehman was 16 years old, he announced to his parents that he was gay and he got thrown out of the house. Rick and I met on the street. This was 1966, and we had the most amazing love affair that lasted until the 90s. And much of who I am is because of who he was. And he called me one day and said, I have AIDS, and I immediately went down to take care of him. The 12 pieces, the small pieces on that one column, he made while I was taking care of him the last year of his life. And it's called Just a Year. He worked on it without my knowledge, and it was presented to me after he died. He had made all the arrangements to do that. And it represented the last year, but it was still full of color and movement and joy, and that's just who he was. People always say to me, you're a great storyteller. And I say, you probably have great stories too, you just don't tell them well. That's what you need to work on. Because the world wouldn't be as interesting as it is if we didn't have great stories. And they can't all belong to one person. They have to belong to everybody. So anyway, that's my life.